Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to Tapping into Culture with Sixpoint and VinePair. I'm Kat Walensky. I'm the senior editor at VinePair, and I'm here with some special guests today. So since there are a few of us here, I will let you introduce yourselves. But first, I want to wish a warm welcome to Marcus Baskerville. He is a brewer at Weathered Souls in San Antonio, Texas. You may know him better for creating the Black is Beautiful beer collaboration, which is what we'll be talking about today. Welcome, Marcus.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. And Max, why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Kat. My name is Max Finance. I'm an advanced Cicerone, and I'm the education and training manager for Sixpoint.
And Ann, representing NYC.
Thanks, Kat. Thanks for having me be a part of this. I'm Ann Reilly, and I'm the executive director of our New York City Brewers Guild.
Yes. So hopefully a lot of people watching or listening have heard about Black is Beautiful by now and have gotten their hands on the beers. There are definitely lots of breweries around that have made these, but Black is Beautiful launched in June. We're about 8 or 9 months in now, so it's really come a long way. Marcus, can you give us a quick rewind as to when and why you kicked this off?
Yeah. So Black is Beautiful came into fruition the last week of May. The official launch date was June 1st. Kind of how it started was there was a couple of catalysts that led to the creation of it. One was being that on my way to Dallas, I was listening to Breonna Taylor's mom talking about the loss of her daughter and how she found out that she was murdered. And just that general conversation and the courses of actions of what happened, it like literally brought me to tears. And on the way back, I was listening to a lot of the protests going on. Being that we're in peak COVID, also up until a few months ago, I was this huge introvert. I wasn't going to go out to these protests. So being said that, we're at a prolific point in history of what was currently going on. It's looking like Civil Rights Movement 2.0. And basically I wanted to come up with a way to give back, use the semi-platform that I have to kind of push that forward. So originally I was going to go ahead and do like a standalone release at the brewery, donate some of the local money locally. Over the course of that weekend, I was having a conversation with Jeffrey Stuffings over at Jester King, and we were talking about race relations, Trump, family, all that different type of stuff. And I sent a mock-up of the label to Jeff the next morning, and he was like, I would understand if you don't want to do this, but you should turn this into a collaboration. And I was like, you know what, Jeff? That's a fantastic idea. So the next 24 hours, I basically spent trying to formulate a mission statement. I mean, we look at the brewing industry, we're in a predominantly Caucasian industry, but then even my customer base is predominantly Caucasian. So I definitely had to come up with a way of not wanting to offend too many people, because it's going to offend somebody regardless, but not try to offend too many people, trying to get the message out there clearly and try to garner some of the support of the craft beer industry. So originally when I launched it, I told my business partner we'd probably get about 250 breweries involved total. So to our surprise, we hit that number like 24 hours in. So what the Black is Beautiful initiative was a call to breweries to participate in a collaborative effort to brew a imperial stout recipe and donate 100% of those proceeds to local charities, foundations, organizations that support equality, inclusion, and diversity. So far we've had about 1,200 breweries involve themselves, all 50 states, 23 countries. And then it's even transcended past the beer industry as a whole. I mean, we're looking at liquor industries are releasing Black is Beautiful whiskeys, bourbons a few years from now. Wineries are getting involved, coffee roasters. We have a chocolatier locally that's making Black is Beautiful chocolate. So it's definitely moving into other service industries. So yeah, that's kind of the beginning and midpoint of Black is Beautiful and kind of what it's about and currently where we're at.
That is absolutely amazing. I have goosebumps, and I knew a lot of this already from reporting it, but I did not know that it's expanded into so many different industries, and or that you were an introvert. I mean, good luck being an introvert now.
Yeah, right. It's like now I have to talk to people every day. Before I was just sitting on the brew floor with my headphones on and
so you
call
started,
it a day.
right? Like, you think you can make a beer, but hell no, you like actually created a whole movement, not even industry wide, but within the whole food and bev. Like, that's really awesome. And probably the most impactful beer collaboration in history, certainly that I know of.
Yeah, I mean, you even look at like the amount of commerce that has just been moved from Black is Beautiful. Like, I think we've received maybe 400 responses off of we sent out like a survey, basically trying to gain information from the breweries that participated. And I mean, we were well into almost 200, or excuse me, up to like almost 2 million with just those 400 breweries. So you think about the impact that's been made and just the amount of commerce that's been made from the craft beer industry to support Black is Beautiful. I mean, the industry is definitely making history in that, right?
And that's in all 50 states, and that's 400. I mean, that's a third so far that you've gotten numbers back on. I mean, that's amazing. Max, I know that Sixpoint recently had some sales, significant sales of Black is Beautiful recently. Can you talk a little more about that?
Yeah. First, I just want to say, like, I think it's really interesting and apt to see that this is moving beyond just the beer segment, because, kudos to you, Marcus. I mean, when I think about this beer, and, we're 9 months on now, it seems like, it has definitely struck me as more than a beer. This is an inspiration for a movement if I've ever seen one coming out of the craft beer industry. So, like I said, kudos and bravo to you, because this is a outstanding effort and, really well deserved.
Thank you,
but yeah, the 6.1 has been a really big success for us. We brewed it as a pretty small batch. Like you said, this was launched in the middle of COVID. We were a little bit short staffed. We had a couple of brewers on furlough. Operationally, we were not running on all cylinders, but we did have a beer already sitting in barrels that we were looking to blend out a little bit. And we knew it was something we were really incredibly proud of. And it was just, one of those beers that all the brewers had been waiting to bring out of barrels. And we said, man, wouldn't it be great if we could, blend some of this into that Black is Beautiful project and turn that into this. So that's sort of where ours came from. We didn't release it until a little bit later in the year, because we did give it some additional barrel time and gave it some vanilla adjunct as well. But we had it as a, just the point that Kat was trying to get at. We had it as our featured beer on Taproom, which is, a direct to consumer service up here in New York City for December and January. And not only did it become our number one selling beer through that app, but also outsold our number 2 beer more than double. So our final donation on this beer is going to be, in excess of $8,000, which we're really happy to make to the Michael J. Jackson scholarship fund that Garrett Oliver has put together. I think that's a really good way that we can move forward as an industry.
Super cool. Did you know that, Marcus?
Yeah.
Have you heard of Taproom? Because I actually didn't realize it was only in New York City until recently. Like, it's a new kind of e-com distribution mashup model, but that's crazy. I mean, Max is talking about like Sixpoint has been around for a long time. Your flagships are known internationally and double the sales. I mean, that's just like, it says a lot. And Ann, I would love for you to give us the lowdown on other New York City craft breweries that have released Black is Beautiful collabs, and like, what are some that have stood out to you as really having an impact in the community?
Yeah, I would say of our member breweries, easily 1/3 of our member breweries participated in this project. And I found that to be really significant and speak volumes to what our New York City breweries are trying to do. Being here in the city, everybody is highly aware of what's been going on during COVID, as well as Marcus aptly described it, our civil rights 2.0, and people getting active and being vocal and not allowing things to just sit or simmer, actively participating and putting action behind their words. And as I said, they're easily 1/3 of our member breweries, and as usually happens with collabs here in New York City, everybody took a different spin on it. I know, for instance, Non Sequitur made a black lager. And, you know, that I've had a number of them, and I have to admit, I've loved them all. But it's often, when you look at that ABV, you have to be like, okay, is this going to be my first and last beer of the evening? Or and that's actually been a great thing too, is it's introduced people to a variety of styles that maybe they wouldn't have tried previously. I think it's really been a big success here, and I would love it if some of them are rebrewed. I know that's happened with a few different collabs here in the city, and I look forward to seeing some of those.
Yeah, I'm curious too about the longevity of the beer itself, like the amount of iterations, but also, you know, we at VinePair and in the beer industry here and elsewhere, like we've seen this as such a huge success story in beer in terms of spreading a positive message and working to improve the beer community and industry in a delicious way. But it's also a catalyst, right, to actually change things. And I think there's, you know, the important part, like Max mentioned, with donations to the Michael J. Jackson Foundation. You know, we want to see where this money is ending up and who it's helping. So what are the ways to keep track of that? Like, what are some of the, you're saying, Marcus, that you're sending out some kind of like poll or survey to get feedback from breweries?
Yeah, so we've been sending out surveys. I think we've sent out two to gain feedback of where the brewery donated their money, how much they donated, when they released the beer, that type of information. So we can gather up a full-size report and kind of, you know, report that back to the consumers and community and let them know like the overall impact that Black is Beautiful has made. But it is kind of difficult to get a hold of 1,200 different breweries. So I have not been able to do all of that yet. But then, you know, over the course of the next couple of months, hopefully we get some more responses and we'll resend it out a couple of times in case people missed it or whatever the case may be. But that is something that we definitely want in the long run, is to be able to see the full impact that the initiative has made across the brewing industry. So hopefully we get more of those results back sooner than later.
Yeah, I mean, that gives me anxiety just thinking of sending 1,200 emails, never mind the follow-ups. So I hope you're not doing that alone.
Right, you get one person on that thread who replies all, and it's just a bad day.
Yeah, it's not fun, definitely, when you have to send those surveys, and then the first couple of times, and you know, like one day it was like 300 responses, so your email is just binging the whole time. Boom, new response. Boom, new response.
Yeah, but could you have imagined this moment a year ago? I mean,
definitely not. I never would have seen myself getting into any type of social justice activism. Not because I don't want to, but again, I mean, it's not really something that I guess really crossed my mind to try to pursue. But, you know, when you go through courses of action and enough is enough, I mean, you know, somebody's going to break at some point. So I think, you know, those points of seeing George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and looking at the fact that I have 2 young daughters myself, I guess that was kind of my boiling point to where I decided, all right, enough is enough, and I'm gonna have to figure out something to do.
Yeah, it was almost a perfect storm of painful things, and a lot of, you know, unrest happening at the right time in a way, right? That we were all so conscious of everything going on at the same time, and I think it really helped fuel a lot of like the action and the participation that we have seen even in this beer. I mean, I just 1,000+ breweries participating in a collab is unreal. Not even not in Texas, not in the US, around the world. I mean, it's really unbelievable.
Definitely wasn't expected. I knew that there was going to be, you know, support, but I definitely didn't think that it would amount to the support that has been shown so far. So I'm completely humbled in a sense, I guess, by the way that the brewing industry has really showed up to support this. And then, I mean, you even look at the national partnership that we just launched with Walmart for Black History Month. And we partnered with 8 different breweries across the United States and launched Black is Beautiful in over, it's almost 300 Walmart locations across the US. So just to see partnerships like that with Walmart and see large corporations wanting to support the initiative and give back, it's definitely something that kind of motivates you to keep things going for sure.
Dude, way to drop that like 25 minutes in. Walmart, that's insane.
Yeah, so that started, what's today? So that started the 7th.
Oh my God.
It's been pretty hectic this last month leading up to that. But yeah, we launched close to 300 locations with Walmart. Black is Beautiful paired on end cap shelves with other Black-owned brands like Black Girl Magic Wine, Uncle Nearest, different brands like that, and you can catch them at some of those local Walmarts. So we did distribution for Virginia and Louisiana, and then 8 other breweries paired to launch within some other states across the U.S.
Wow. So in general, where can people look to find Black is Beautiful, either from Weathered Souls or from Sixpoint or from any of the 1,200 breweries that are participating?
Yeah, so it's on all 50 states. So you can go to blackisbeautiful.beer and you'll be able to locate beer locally as far as whatever you're looking for. And then hopefully we have a Walmart finder launching this week with the ability, you'll be able to go to the blackisbeautiful.beer website and check that out and see what Walmart locations have it as well.
I want to like high five you so bad. That's crazy. Well, does anyone have any other thoughts, feelings, questions? And Max?
I have one question for you, Marcus. I mean, it's a really big question. I don't expect you, I don't want to take us down like a 15-minute rabbit hole with this question. But first of all, I know you were elected to the Brewers Association Board of Directors this year, so congratulations on that.
Thank you.
What do you see as, this is, I mean, a fantastic first move, but I think, like a lot of people, like we don't want to let the conversation die here. And it's only a first move, and I think there's so much work that's still to be done in the craft beer industry, in addition, in the nation, but, looking at our own microcosm in this industry. What would you see as like potential steps that either consumers can take, or if there's any brewers watching this at home, what can they do to help move this conversation forward? And, or, what are you hoping that you can help the Brewers Association achieve? And any one or all 3 of those aspects, on quickly enough, I guess.
Yeah, dealing with what I see for consumers is obviously supporting those minority-owned brands and businesses that are supporting craft beer and the movements, participating in some of the different things that they have going on. Like you have Eugenia, Beer Chick, doing the Road to 100 with the Cicerone program. You have Brandon Montgomery doing the Black Beer Travelers and all of the beer tastings and stuff like that. So definitely supporting movements like that, supporting initiatives like that will definitely help the cause. As far as breweries and the industry goes, I don't really think there's going to be too much of a shift until we see change in ownership. Yes, the whole aspect of having minority and people of color employees is a wonderful thing. It's definitely a step in the correct direction. But we also know that in any industry that real change is done at the ownership level. Real change is done at levels of where you have power, responsibility, and that type of thing. So until we start seeing more minority head brewers, more minority production managers, more minority owners, there's definitely still going to be kind of a lack of the real shift that needs to be made. I think we are kind of going in the right direction when you look at programs like the Michael J. Jackson Foundation, and you look at Crowns and Hops doing the 100 Trills and Pills. You have Shannon Harris getting a lot of traction with opening his brewery in Austin, Texas. So you see things like that happening, and you know that there is a lot of growth and movement being made. But for my own like eyes and perspective, I don't think we're going to see any real change until there's more within that responsibility range of having that type of ownership and being able to make those changes at that type of level versus the ground floor. As far as what I see for the Brewers Association, I do not know yet. Everything kind of still is kind of a whirlwind for me. Like I said, I never expected to get within like the social justice realm ever in my life. Not that I don't support it. It's just not something that I've seen, in my horizon. So I'm still trying to catch up to a lot of the things that are going on and how we can move forward, even with Black is Beautiful and keeping that conversation going. So I actually have my induction into the board of directors next week. So I think once I soak in that couple of days, then I can kind of divert my energy to trying to figure out how I can give back and support that and push the initiatives that I want through the board of directors as well.
Wow. How's that for a new job?
That's great.
You were just going to be brewing.
Right.
So much for that. And have you seen any kind of changes on that level in terms of, the structural changes in New York City breweries?
I think it's been happening behind the scenes, and unfortunately, change takes much longer than I know I would like to see it happen. Conversations are happening, and it is top of mind, and they've been going on, but now it's more moving towards action, not just conversation. I mean, there was a recent story on one of our local news channels highlighting Black-owned breweries. And I was in conversation with our state executive director, and he said, we're really failing. We're New York, and we have less than 5 Black-owned breweries in the state. That's not good.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I have like 400 or something, right?
Right. Yeah, there's well over 400 breweries in the state, and that's a ridiculously small percentage. The New York City brewery closest to where I live now is Daleview. That's owned by Chris Ganzi, and he's turning that into not just a small brewery, but now he's also opening up a craft beer shop. So to bring local beer to the neighborhood, because otherwise I've had to travel to our New York City breweries to get local beer. So it'd be great to be able to walk 15 minutes and get some.
Yeah, really. And
Right.
they do beer and biscuits, right, Ann?
Yes, delicious on both parts.
So lucky you live there. What about you, Max? What do you see changing in Sixpoint or in artisanal brewing ventures?
I mean, I think like Ann said, sometimes, first of all, I'm fully open to the fact that, as a white guy in craft beer with a beard who's usually wearing a flannel, like I'm
True.
the walking stereotype and probably the last thing craft beer needs more of. But I also recognize that, with my position, I have a little bit of a platform to try and, plead people that like this industry will be so much better for everyone with more diverse voices at the table. And, whether it's women-owned breweries or minority or just underrepresented groups currently in craft beer, I think the more of those voices we can bring to the table, the better beer gets for everyone and the more exciting beer gets for everyone. We've taken some, some meaningful but small changes, right off the bat. One thing we did recently was started to post all of our job openings to the beer culture job posting board,
Oh, cool.
which is specifically aimed at attracting underrepresented candidates to job openings who, might be less inclined to look at Indeed or something, a more traditional route. We just had a book club. We do a book club at ABV, and we just did the relatively new beer and racism book, because I think that's a conversation we really need to be having inside the company, but also inside the industry as a whole. So like Ann said, I think we have to move beyond conversations to, tangible actions, and in terms of seeing change, but deciding what those right actions are starts with, having good and valuable conversations too.
Absolutely. And I hope this was one of them. I hope that anyone who is listening or watching can really take something away from this. And of course, also look out for the beers. There are thousands of them around. So check out blackisbeautiful.beer and find yourself some delicious paths to racial equity in the beer world. Thanks so much, everyone. I think we're ready to wrap up, but Marcus, how does it feel to have truly impacted so many people with this beer?
I don't think the impact has still kind of hit me yet, but because at the end of the day, I feel like there's so much work to still be done, especially with the initiative, with moving forward. And so for me, I'm not settled yet. So I guess that impact hasn't hit me. But to see the excitement in a lot of different people, to receive some of the letters that we've gotten in support, some of the messages and emails, it definitely lets me know that we're headed in the right direction. And I can't be anything but humbled by the amount of support that people have shown in support of the initiative.
Well, while you're being humbled, the rest of the beer world, or a lot of us, are feeling very grateful that this is even happening. So thank you, Marcus, for this bright idea that turned into a worldwide.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ann, for joining us today. But also, yeah, thank you, Marcus, for this, really, really important conversation that we're now having, and your contribution to it that sort of started all this.
Thank you, and thank you guys for having me. It's much appreciated.
Hopefully, one of these days soon, we'll all be able to, celebrate over an actual pint.
Yeah. We'll be at beer festivals again together.
Right. Hopefully soon.
This festivals. I'll even not complain about the drunk people in the long lines at the bathroom.
For at least one festival.
Right.
Right.
No, I think there's going to be a lot of beer baths at the first few festivals because people haven't set up a jockey box in over a year.
Oh my God. So true. Well, thanks again. Cheers, everybody. And
Cheers.
Thanks for tuning in. Just be sure to look out for Black is Beautiful and to tune into Tapping into Culture with our next episode.